raising your chicks the wrong way, because how long you raise your broilers is different from how long you will raise your layers, which is your pullet. Okay, a lot of beginners in poultry farm lose their chicks even before they start. So in this video, I'm going to be explaining how to brood your birds, how long you need to brood your broilers or your layers, how many hours they need for light, and how many hours they need for the heat source. So make sure you watch this video to the end so you learn how to properly brood your birds, and share this video to someone who needs it, a beginner in poultry farming. Welcome to day 23 of the 30-day series on how to raise your birds from day old as a beginner. This is Amoto Farm, a backyard poultry farmer who is also helping beginners in sharing tips on how they are going to scale through on their poultry journey. So we are going to begin by explaining what brooding is. Okay, brooding of chicks, or brooding, is simply the care and management given to young chicks from the hatchery, be it broilers or layers, okay, for a period of time 2 to 6 weeks, until they are ready to adapt to the outside weather condition. So in the space of these 2 to 6 weeks, they must have grown their weather and their feathers, and they can adapt to the outside, weather condition. They can regulate their own temperature by themselves. One of the frequent questions I get asked is, how much temperature do the chicks need in their brooder? Okay, for your chicks, once they arrive into your brooder, when you pick them up from your pickup point or from the hatchery that first day, okay, they need about 35 degrees Celsius of heat. Okay, and then every week you reduce by 5 degrees Celsius, and that's why you need a thermometer inside your brooder to be able to measure this temperature. If you don't have a thermometer, you can tell by the chicks' behavior, their character, and how they react in the environment that you put them. If you see them gathered one place huddling together, which means the brooder is too cold. But if you see them far away from the heat source and they are panting, which means the place is too hot. So you have to adjust accordingly. So another question is, how many hours of light do these chicks need? Okay, for your chicks that you just started brooding, okay, for that first few days, they need about 23 to 24 hours of light. Why do they need this light? So that they can be able to locate the feeders and the drinkers, and they'll be able to eat up properly for rapid growth. Okay, so you're going to be keeping the light for them for 23 to 24 hours, so they're able to locate the food, and then for you gradually reduce it by 18 to 20 hours so that they can have enough time to rest. Okay, make sure that you have enough feeders and drinkers for your chicks, and then make sure that it's not too far away so that even the weak ones does not have to walk far before they locate the feed and the water. Is a bonus one to my beginners in poultry farming. Okay, the small 4-liter drinker is to 25 beds, so which means 25 bed per 4 liters of their drinker. So that way you can do the maths to know how many feeders that is enough for your beds. For your broilers, breeding of broilers usually takes about 2 to 3 weeks, because the broilers, they grow very fast. Remember that broilers reach market weight at week 6 to week 7. So within 2 to 3 weeks, the broilers, they must have grown their feathers, and then they grow very fast. Then you are done with the brooding cycle for the broilers. While for your layers, they grow slowly. Okay, so brooding takes about 4 to 6 weeks for you to complete your brooding cycle. So in a situation whereby you are brooding both broilers and your layers together, which is the pullets, okay, after 2 weeks or 3 weeks, okay, you can separate the broilers from the pullet, maybe into a more ventilated area or space, while you continue nurturing your pullets until they've grown enough, they've grown their feathers and can regulate their body temperature and adapt to the outside weather condition. Okay, here are 7 mistakes that beginners in poultry farmer make while brooding their birds. One is failing to preheat their brooder before the chicks arrive. Please, before you go and pick up your chicks from the hatchery or from the pickup point, make sure that your brooder is already set. Everything is in place. You have preheat the brooder. It's warm enough to welcome this chick in, so that when by the time the birds come, they'll be able to get set to locate their drinkers and their feeders, and it will help to reduce stress and also reduce mortality rate amongst your chicks, because this is one of the reasons why a lot of beginners tends to have high mortality rate amongst their chicks in the first few weeks of brooding their chicks. Another mistake is poor ventilation and toxic bedding. Okay, ventilation is very important for your beds. A lot of beginners make this mistake too. I also made this mistake when I was brooding my beds. Okay, yes, they need heat, but remember that their droppings are on the floor, which can build up in smell and affect this your chicks, giving them respiratory issues. Okay, so you are going to open up a space on the top of your brooder where air can filter itself, free flow of air. Okay, and then the place will be ventilated enough for them while still providing heat for them. Okay, opening the door or making a big airway for it, okay, can send direct chills to the birds, which can affect them. Okay, so you're going to make sure that you put all this in place properly. Another problem is beddings, okay, what you use on the floor. I've seen a lot of farmers, once they get their chick, they at day one, they use wood shaving or sawdust. Okay, here in my brooder, in fact, there are so many techniques I use in raising this my bed. So if you've been following my channel, you must have learned a lot from it. Okay, introducing wood shaving or sawdust to your beds too early can actually affect your bed. Yes, remember, these wood shavings or sawdust come from different wood that we don't know. Some of them are actually toxic to these beds. Okay, that's why in the first few days of brooding, you are advised to use paper for brooding. Okay, make sure that you don't use shine slippery paper that can, stop the birds from moving around freely. So you use paper. We have brooding paper. You can use carton. You will use it for the first few days of brooding. After then, you can switch to other floor beddings that is suitable for them. It is advisable to use paper for the first few days or few weeks of life, okay? Because these birds, they are very small. Introducing wood shavings or sawdust in that first few days or few weeks, these birds can't differentiate between their feed and those materials. So they're going to be pecking on those materials, and then they will eat it and digest it, which can cause other health issues for them. So that's why you use paper for the first few days of a brooding. Then you can now switch to more suitable material for your brooder. Here in my farm, I use paper to brood my beds for the first 1 week while I'm brooding. Then after that, I can switch to wood shavings or sawdust. There are different materials that I can use as floor beddings in your farm, okay, not just in your brooder. Floor beddings are those material that you put inside your brooder to make the place cozy, warm for them, and be able to absorb their droppings in the farm. So there are so many types. You can use sawdust, wood shavings, rice husk, whisk brown. Okay, so many of them. But the one that is readily available for farmers, especially here in Nigeria, is either wood shavings or sawdust. So you can use whichever one that works for you. When it comes to this poultry farming, there's a lot of rules involved. Okay, every farmer has what works for them. Okay, stick to one method, stick to whatever works for you, and follow that up. Okay, don't forget to offer quality feeds to these birds, and then observe them carefully while they are in that brooder. For that period of time that you are brooding them, observation is key, and then make sure that you keep their space very clean and dry. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and turn on your notification for more poultry tips like this. I hope you find this helpful. Thank you.